Welcome, everybody, to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest-running sales training podcast in their history of podcasts. This is Season 1 of the Advanced Selling Podcast. My name is Bryan Neal.
Season 1. Are we just finishing up Season 1?
We're still in it.
2000.
We're not near done. We're not near done.
Okay.
We just wait for the twist.
We're half into it.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm Bill Caskey. Glad to be here with you, Bryan.
Thank you. Glad to be here. We've been here for 19 years. Do we have our episode count? I don't know if we have our episode count.
Oh, it's
close to 2,000.
It's at least 2,000. I mean, 20 years times.
Yeah, one a week. I don't know. Something.
Well, it'd be 1,000.
Is that right?
Years.
Well, we did two a few times. You know. Anyway,
5 times. Yeah, it's 1,000. I thought it was more than that, but
we've been here for a while.
So speaking of being here and not being here, I went to a funeral the other day.
Oh gosh.
To Nancy Leonard, who is a icon here in the city of Indianapolis. She's closely associated with the Indiana Pacer NBA basketball team. Her husband coached for many years and broadcasted it. So she died, and she and I was good friends with her, but especially her family and her daughter and sons, and they're from Carmel. So anyway, we just really great people. And so they invited me to the funeral. It's kind of an invitation only thing. And they invited me, and it was an awesome funeral. And I looked back as I got there, and all the Pacers were there, but they kind of came in late because they didn't want to because you don't know if there's gawkers at things like that.
Yes.
So anyway, so I looked over across the aisle, and I see this guy, Jerry Baker. Do you remember a guy named
Jerry Baker?
Jerry Baker.
Icon. And
I'm like,
icon, radio, TV icon.
Yeah. Oh my God. He died. He died like 8 years ago or 10 years ago. And I looked up while I was there. I'm like, well, maybe it's his brother because it looks just like him. And in fact, he didn't even look old. I'm like, well, maybe it's his son that just like a doppelganger. So I looked up while I was sitting there waiting, listening to music, funeral music. And there's an article said, yeah, Jerry Baker died in 2012. And I'm like, there he is. I mean,
he's here. He's back.
At a funeral, which is coincidental. And I'm like, oh my God. And so he left, or the ghost left before I could say anything to him, because I always just loved him. And I called, asked Terry Leonard, the deceased daughter. I said, is Jerry Baker still alive? She goes, yeah, he was there today. He's been alive. Well, what did Google tell me? Why did it tell me that he died 10 years ago? Because I thought he did too. I thought he had passed, but he hasn't. And he's there, so.
And I'll tell you why I had fact checked myself, because I thought I knew why. I'm an Indianapolis 500 fan, but I'm also an Indianapolis 500 radio fan. I listen to the race on the radio. He's the turn one announcer still. Yeah. He's got turn one. Still. He's on.
No.
Jerry Baker, turn one. Yeah.
No.
Take a listen.
He's 80. He's 85. 84.
Still rolling.
Got a great voice, though.
Great voice. That's a little Indianapolis talk for you non-Indianapolis people.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on.
Let's go.
November 7th, coming up on Friday at 12 Eastern, we're doing our November version of the Insider. You can get access to that. Go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/insider. And this week, we're talking about money, all things money. Primarily, how do we talk about money with prospects and customers? And I find that there's a lot of anguish and anxiety and uncertainty about how to bring up price, how to bring up cost, how to bring up all things around economics. And so we're going to dive deeply into it on Friday, and you're going to leave, if you come, with 5 different scenarios that I find money becomes difficult to bring up and what to do about it in each of those scenarios. So I wanted to tee that up with you, see if you see that as well, and maybe the Bryan Neal wrinkle to it all, if you see something that maybe I'm not seeing about bringing up money and having that conversation.
Yeah, first and foremost, absolutely. It's we've done, talked a little bit in the past, a lot with clients, but occasionally on the podcast about this concept of money scripting as a thing, just how we were born and raised and taught to deal with money. There's an interesting transition going on. This might be the wrinkle that I might add. The generations coming up behind Gen X, the millennials and Gen Zs, are they are more comfortable talking about money than we were. They have this thing about, what do they call it? wage transparency, where they're very comfortable telling people what they make. And that's a first little step. And so what I'm starting to notice is with that group, and that group's becoming buyers now.
Absolutely.
And so this idea of where boomers and Gen Xers were sort of taught to play a game with money. Well, it could be in a budget, range, even stuff I would teach my clients, like range stuff, I think is a little less important now. Still around, but it's a different angle. Now it's more about, let's just get the number on the table. Let's talk through it in a much more systematic, logical way.
Yes.
With a millennial or Gen Z buyer. So that's a thing that I'm observing.
Yeah. I also think that your younger buyer doesn't, like you said, they don't want to play that game.
No,
they don't want to play any game. No. They want to know, what can you do for me? How much is it? What's it going to be? What's life look like when I'm done? I wouldn't say it's matter of fact, because you still have to understand their dilemmas and their problems and pains and challenges, but it's a lot more. They don't want to get in the sales game.
No.
And the sales game is, well, I can't talk about price until call number 4, because that's what my process says here. And, no. And so when you're, so that's good. That's a great insight, Bryan.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's just, as much as we all might not want to look in the mirror and go, there's a whole bunch of other people that are younger than me now, all of a sudden. It's like, whoopsie daisy. And so just really trying to understand how they're raised different, how they think different, and how I was raised and how I think, and how I can, as a Gen Xer, adapt what I'm doing to that. Because I definitely was raised, and they don't ever talk about money, fear around it, that sort of thing. And I have to work really hard on that. And so there's a risk in exposing it too.
There is,
and just dumping the number on the table, like the millennial ones. Well, tell me how much it is. Well, we've got to think through why it is what it is. Because then I go, well, that's too much,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I agree. I think that's a great wrinkle. Okay, so let's talk about one scenario that I find is common, and I've got a wrinkle. I've used that term a couple times today. I like the wrinkle term. So scenario number 1 is when they haven't bought anything like this in a long time. So you might go into a company, and if they're not used to spending money on training, coaching, systems, then it's not like you would put the price out there and they'd say, "Is that all?"
Yes.
They're never going to say that. So if they haven't bought what you sell for a while, and you can find that out, that requires a different strategy than if they buy what you sell all the time and it's you versus a competitor. That's a totally different strategy. So, and the subtext of that is, if they're buying something that technology has changed and they haven't bought it since the technology changed.
Bravo.
And I think that's big, especially in obviously high-tech businesses. So why don't you weigh in on that, and then I'll share with you my thoughts.
That's a really, really good application of one of 5 you're going to give in
1 of 5.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about giving an insider, it's worth it now that I've heard the first one. And I didn't know, I don't know the other 4 either, but this is great. When people haven't bought, they have no context. And what I find happens is they tend to hang it on things that they do understand and compare them, even though they may be different. So an example would be if I have hired a speaker to come to my sales meeting in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I've paid local people, $1,000, $1,500 to do that. And Bill Caskey comes along and says, well, to have me come in, it's going to be $15,000. I go, whoa. But bringing Bill in is different than my little speakers that have come in to like, hey, here's a tip, here's a trick. Bill's bringing a system and an approach, and he's got follow-up stuff. He's got pre-work before and after. It's very different. But they're comparing it to something that they understand, and they don't understand yet Bill's program. So Bill's program is worth every dime of $15,000, but they don't understand that. It's like, well, gosh, the person we had last year, we did a thing on, how to shake hands at marketing events, and it was 15. It was really good. Yeah, she said, squeeze bottom 2 fingers up, and don't crush the.
Don't release until they look in the eye.
Exactly right. But seriously, that's
uncle.
Great. But that's not what Bill's deal is. And so that's a thing that they're going to try to hang it on something that is similar that they think it is, that it's not. You have to really help people see how and why it's different.
Yeah. So that's an example of they paid $1,500 for it 10 years ago.
Yes.
And even if they went back to that same person, it's probably going to be $5,500 now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just inflation and time has caused the price to go up. So if I'm the person they hired 10 years ago for $1,500 and they call me again, and now my price is $5,500, I've got to lead with that. I've got to say, look, before we start, there's one thing that I was thinking about today, and I just want to make you comfortable or make you uncomfortable by bringing this up.
Yes.
And I know that we did some work here 10 years ago, and I must tell you that my fees have gone up quite a bit since then, and it may or may not be within your budget, but I just want to tell you that because I want to be open and honest and not have you come up with an expectation it's the same price it was 10 years ago, or however you would say that.
Absolutely.
And then you can have a conversation. Then they say, well, what is it? That's probably their next. Well, what is it? Well, it ranges between 55 on the bottom end and 75, depends on what you're trying to do. And that's hundreds, not thousands.
Right.
Play that one.
I love that.
So, so if it's something that has gone before you and you're going to be coming in with a very different thing, you've got to bring up pricing in some way. Don't leave it till the end.
No, do not. And, Gong, that I'm a big fan of, they've got a lot of data about this. And all their data shows that bringing up price in the typically in the second call early or the first call late is ideal for like win rates. I don't remember the actual math. You could go look up Gong stats on talking about price early. But the earlier, the better. The earlier, the better is what their data would say.
I don't think you want to bring up price before you understand the problem, though. But you should be able to do that in the first call. So even if you don't get all the way through all the core issues, if you get kind of a surface level and then you talk price in generalities.
Yeah.
But I also think, and this goes to point number one, and we're going to talk about this on the 7th, is we do have to have something to compare the price to.
Yep.
And that is the economic value of the solution. And if you cannot explain the economic value of your solution to a buyer, and then you get mad because they don't want to pay your price, you're the problem.
Yes.
It's so get comfortable in and you don't have to explain it down to the penny, but generally, how does the customer, and what's their perspective, or what should it be on economic value of the solution?
Yes. I what's your take on this? Because I think so. So yes, on you've got it. Like this is just this is like doing math problems on a board together. Mm-hmm. It's very collaborative. It's not a trickery thing. I'm not trying to get you to see the value.
No.
I'm trying to talk through it because I think there's another missing piece here. And we just had 2 situations this year where this happened, where someone comes along and their revenue just doesn't support the amount of money they would spend to hop on the BZ operating system.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty quick conversation. It's like, look, if you guys are at just eclipsing $1 million in revenue and you got 2 salespeople, you're better off going to do some training first.
Yeah.
Get that to 5 million and then you'll be more ready. The math just doesn't make sense. You wouldn't want to spend the money. And that's not a trickery thing. Some people would use that as a manipulative, like reverse.
No, but it's a criteria that you have in deference to them. I mean, you're helping
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't want to be in situations where we're the highest line item on the expense column because you're going to get all sorts of attention and pressure and all this jazz. And like, you don't want to be that person. Go find someone where they do say what Bill said, like, that's it. Like find that company. Like, dang, that's pretty reasonable.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah. I did have one about a month ago where we went through and this guy that was president of the company, he was a business unit president. And he had all the numbers and the numbers were not good. And he's like, we got to get this thing rolling again. And I used to do some work with him and we did good work. He goes, I got to get this thing from X million up to 3X million. So from 10 to 30. Yeah. And I said, well, it's going to be probably in this range. He goes, I don't care.
Right. He's buying the outcome.
Can we do it in a year? I said, we can get close in a year. All right. When do we go? Let's go.
Awesome.
And it's it's so refreshing versus, well, I'm looking at 7 other people and
Right.
like, go find the other 6 and go.
No.
Where do I need to be? I'll help you. $500. Okay.
Because it's the part where, like, I know some people have been taught, well, I have no, like this, I get this. I really have no idea, Brian, how much it's going to be. I mean, we do everything's custom design. Until we look under the hood, we have no idea.
Yeah.
So then we have no idea. They say that. I go, well, is it going to be $10? Like, oh, no, it'll be way more than $10. I'm like, is it going to be $1 billion? Like, no, that's stupid. I'm like, okay, so hang on. We do kind of know somewhere between $10 and $1 billion. There's our, you know what I mean?
Is that good enough? Budget purposes.
Yeah, we got to cut this idea of like, I have no idea. That's a stupid thing to say, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you're talking about. I literally have no idea. You can't say that, especially to younger buyers.
Yeah,
you got to stamp it.
So maybe one thing you do, if it really is truly a custom, which it could be, I mean, is to say, look, we have two facets of economics. We have the first facet, which is where you give me the broad overall, and I'll give you kind of a broad overall of financials and where I'm thinking it'll end up. But as we go further, we're going to find that it may end up there, it may end up less, it may end up a little more. We'll get into the finer detail, the polishing. We'll polish the edges of this thing a little bit.
We'll smooth out the wrinkles.
Oh,
keep it in the shoe.
There you go.
Huh? How about that?
The wrinkle episode.
Where's the steamer?
Anyway, so I like that. I think that's good. So anyway, we're going to talk about the other 4, one of which is when technology, that we got one devoted just to technology. We got one devoted to where you are up against another competitor, which happens a lot.
Yes.
And then one where you can actually demonstrate that if a prospect invests $1 with you, they will get 10 back. Be careful with that one because sometimes it's unbelievable. So you have to feather that a little bit. So we'll talk about it on the 7th. Go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/insider. We will leave a link in the show notes for this episode.
That's a good one. Go do that one. Go to that one.
That was good. That was that whole boomer and Gen Z thing is, I had not thought about that before you mentioned it. So we're going to bring that into that too. Appreciate you.
No problems.
All right.
See you.
All right.